Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Diz, a show that gives you everything you need to know to help make your Disney vacation as magical as can be in just about 20 minutes. I'm your host, Jeff Coviello. With me each week is Disney Master Sandy from Easy Diz by Instant Impressions Travel Services. Sandy, how are you this week?
I'm feeling magical. How about you?
I'm good. We're here to talk about something that is, well, let's just be fair. It's got a lot of history in the Disney properties, and it's been rethemed. You've experienced it. I'm excited to talk about it because it's kind of an original for me. We're talking about the Country Bear Jamboree.
Which not only was it rethemed, most people won't notice the subtlety. It's been renamed. It's the Country Bear Musical Jamboree now in Walt Disney World.
Well, it's important. You throw that other word in there. It just changes everything. Let's be fair. So listen, it's very rich in history, that entire thing. So before we break down what they've changed, give us a little bit of that history for folks that are interested.
It opened with the park back in 1971. Shortly after it opened out in Disneyland Park, and then it also came to Tokyo Disneyland. Sadly, it left California in 1985. It had looked like we were going to see some different versions of the show. They started to rework what was there. Ultimately, they closed it. For those of you that can picture Disneyland, it is now the home of Winnie the Pooh back since 1985.
So the West Coast said goodbye.
West Coast said goodbye. It is still where it began in Walt Disney World as well as out in Tokyo.
Okay. What about anything else that we've seen iterations of it along the way?
There's been a holiday show. You get a little bit of tinsel and red bows on things. There was a special summer show we saw for 1 year in World, and they held it a little bit longer out in Disneyland. But when you get right down to it, it's about 17 bears, a raccoon, a bison, a moose, and a deer. And that makes up our Country Bear friends.
And for those that are completely ignorant to it here, we're not talking live action, right? They haven't trained bears to sing along. These are animatronics. It's in a standalone theater. You know, it has rich history in the Magic Kingdom, so we're excited to talk about it. But they made a call to retheme it. Give us a little bit, we haven't talked about this, but give us a little bit of the history as to when we found out the retheming was coming. It's been a couple of years, correct?
It was one of those weekends that I have a love-hate relationship with. It was back at D23 that they made that announcement.
Got it.
So we've known it's been coming for a while. It was a pretty quick refurbishment as things go because the bones of the show have stayed the same.
Okay.
There's nothing new about the theater. It's still the same seats that it had when the theater closed. It's still got those 5 curtains that open at different parts in the show. It still has a bear that comes down on a swing. And of course, I disagree with some of the articles that I've read about it over who is the host of the show, but I love the input from the 3 deer, moose, and bison heads on the wall. They are still there trying to crack up the audience as always. So the bones of what we saw remain, but they've done some other updates throughout the show.
So is it safe to say that the characters remain intact?
They do. It still features Henry and Wendell and Trixie and of course Big Al.
Right.
All your favorites, Bunny, Bubbles, Bula, they're all still there. And again, it still works that same way. For those of you that have seen the show before, it has one big center stage, and then to the left and the right, there are 2 smaller theater box, for lack of a better word, areas with their own curtains. And at various times in the show, different curtains open. The 4 side ones all have one set character. But the main stage works similar to a Broadway stage. Things can go up and down, and so you might have a band at one point, a single singer, a bear playing a piano, and then the triplets. So it definitely, that main stage rotates throughout different scenes.
Okay, so for those that have seen it, right, and I guess for those that have not, what about this refurbishment really has made it new in some ways? Because you say a lot of it still remained the same. So What about it has been rethemed? What makes it new?
It is 98% new music, and new, I will give a little bit of a definition of that word in this instance.
Okay.
New to the Country Bear Jamboree. It still opens with the same opening number, but all of the other numbers in the show are other Disney IP from Disney movies. There is no unique songs like they had prior.
So when you say that, it's all Disney IP. I guess my question is for those that have come and seen it, right? You're thinking like banjo type of style music. Is it redone in that style?
Much of it is redone, but they really did such a great job picking the songs that the version that they use of Kiss the Girl and A Whole New World, I have to say, I don't know that I've ever seen as lively as an audience as I did for this. And I did go see it more than once so that I got some better photos and videos. So it wasn't that I just hit a unique audience. It's music that everybody who has a child who's watched Disney movies in the last 15 years knows. And it's the tap your feet, clap your hands, sing along type music, with the exception of Remember Me. And if you've been to Country Bears before and you remember Big Al performing, he doesn't let us down with his horrible rendition of Remember Me, which thankfully, they pull the curtain on him pretty quick more than once as he tries to serenade us.
So why don't we do this? Because just that image is very funny. Why don't we run through what the music is? You mentioned it's Disney intellectual property. So why don't you give us some of the titles from the tracks that we should be familiar with?
You bet. So Try Everything from Zootopia, Kiss the Girl from Little Mermaid, A Whole New World from Aladdin. Little bit of a surprise with this one. I'm not sure how it ended up there, but it was one of the more popular sing-alongs, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Got it.
From Mary Poppins. Fixer Upper from Frozen, of course, not a quiet person in the room for that song. As I said, Big Al does his rendition of Remember Me from Coco. You've Got a Friend in Me from Toy Story. And reaching back a little bit further in the IP, but obviously the perfect match for the Country Bears, The Bare Necessities from The Jungle Book.
I'm just sitting there. You're mentioning Try Everything from Zootopia. And as we know, that's Shakira. I'm just trying to picture Big Al's hips not lying during this entire experience. I'm sure.
Big Al was not, again, with those 5 different curtains opening. Big Al came and went. He was not part of the Try Everything sing-along.
So it's interesting. So like you said, each one of these cycles through the different stages and then the main stage as well, correct?
Correct. And again, it's not full-length songs for everything, but mostly the choruses and sometimes repeats of the choruses so that it's the part that everybody knows. I'm sure most people can't sing every word of Fixer Upper, but very few Disney people don't at least know the chorus.
So some of the stuff that it replaced, I guess my question is, do we have any of the old tunes, or are all the old tunes completely gone?
The old tunes are all gone. And, if you hadn't been to Country Bears regularly, the old tunes probably weren't songs you knew from outside of Disney or outside of Country Bears, where here the music really resonated with everybody.
And I guess my other question too, because it's brand new, rethemed. Did you see that it generated a different crowd than it had in the past? I know you said people were singing along, but did you find it to be more well attended?
I think it's still short-lived, going to qualify as a best kept secret.
Okay.
I think because of the way that it has been closed, and if you've walked by there before, if the line isn't headed out the door, because of the way that you walk past and it's kind of on your side, you don't walk in front of it and directly towards it, and the dark coloring, it's easy to walk right through and not even realize that there's something going on there. So the positive, not a long line, but like other shows that we've talked about before, you either time it right or you time it wrong. You know, if it just started, then you're going to wait a whole show time. And that's going to be about 15 minutes by the time they open the theater, let everybody in, start the show, finish the show, let everybody out, and do that reset because it is just over 11 minutes. I encourage everybody, and if you've seen the show in the past, you may remember this. When the show ends and they tell you to leave, don't go. The show will go on for another minute or so, and it's definitely fun to kind of hear all the ending stories that most people walk out and miss. It's kind of like going to the movies and seeing all the little hidden Easter eggs that Pixar puts in the credits. Same thing here.
Yeah, it's a Marvel after credit scene that you have to wait around for at the end. But obviously, you mentioned, timing it, and for people that have not done the timing so well, when you're waiting for the show, it is indoors. You're waiting indoors, so it could be the type of thing too. You and I have talked about this a lot. Depending upon the weather, whether it's too hot, whether it's raining, things like that, the cue that you're waiting for can be an escape from some of that too.
It is, and I will say, like many of their theater type shows, it's not your typical cue. It's not a single file or a 2 or 3 person wide queue. It is a room and the doors open. I personally suggest that you sit further back. If you're right up front near the stage, when the bear comes down on the swing, you're really kind of stretching your neck to look up, and you either have to pick, do I want to see what's going on the stage or coming down from the ceiling? So a lot of people rush for those front seats. I'm not a fan of the front seats. I'm also not a fan of being the first one in the door. If you haven't figured this out yet, especially as they get busier, they always say, please move all the way to the end of the row, not leaving any empty seats. Let people in front of you. I want to sit in the middle. I want the best seat in the house. And so those people going in front of me allow me to move all the way down as far as I can, but still get a great view.
So I guess the other question I have for you we're talking all the showmanship stuff. You mentioned all the different types of music that they've changed to, all the intellectual property. Obviously, if you're going to sing something, like we said, Remember Me from Coco, like in theory, the visual should have changed too. So what kind of costuming are our bears wearing for these things?
I think, and this was the hardest part of the show for me, because again, I don't do change really well. And if you had asked me about the country bears, we used to send postcards home on vacation. If you still mail postcards from vacation, give us a shout out on any of our social channels. I'm wondering if anybody actually still mails them.
We do. You and I are the only ones that do.
Our favorite postcard that I remember that we always used to go by was Bunny, Bubbles, and Beulah, the 3 bears across the front of the stage in their little blue bonnets and their little blue dresses. And that was always my favorite card to pick out. So let's be honest. This opened in 1971. That means the costume people were picking out material and getting this sewn 1969, 1970. I know they say everything old is new again.
Not so much, though. Not for the bears.
Most of you don't want to be wearing what people in the 70s were wearing. And so it's one of the things I think that made it look a little dated. Disney obviously does a great job dusting and cleaning. They do actually, when they do refurbishments, undress the bears and make sure that the stuff looks fresh. But now you've got stuff that kind of goes with Shakira music. Those 3 bears, instead of being in that drab blue with their bonnets, have pink cowboy hats and cute little pink vests and skirts with silver sequins on it. So they kind of shine bright, and it's kind of the perfect match. You can see they worked hard. Some of the bears still have brown vests, but they're a little more current and stylish. they're not all decked out like they're heading out to New Year's Eve or a rock party, but the colors are definitely more vibrant, a lot more use of sequins than we've seen in there in the past. So you feel that new, fresh 2024 feel to it.
Very cool. Well, before we say goodnight, is there anything else that we think anybody needs to know about this refurbishment, reimagination of the Country Bears?
I think it is definitely worth going to. It is a standby only attraction, no virtual queue, no single pass, no multi-pass. But as I said, the line tends to be pretty short. The theater fits a good number of people. So include it. Your kids will love it. And if you're the dad of the family and you're looking for nap time, I'll give you 11 minutes there.
See, now you are playing my jam right there. They added these songs. That is my thing right there. If I'm looking for nap time, we're going to head right in. But in all seriousness, the change to the new intellectual property with the songs from all the movies that are right in my kids' age range, I'm really excited. We're heading back there in a couple of weeks, and this will definitely be something that we do, which we really had passed on for the last couple of years.
As a Disney adult, I did it. I would do it again. It's one that's kind of now made its way onto my list because it is just so much fun. And again, it works for everybody. You don't need to be a certain height, be willing to do thrill rides. They do obviously have seating for those in wheelchairs and scooters. So it's a family hit that really works for everybody.
Well, and as you said before, everything old is new again. So we're excited to see it. Thanks for going down and enjoying it and sharing it with the rest of us.
My pleasure.
And that's a wrap this week on Let's Talk Dis. If anyone you know could benefit from this or any show, please share, have them like and subscribe. And don't forget to reach out to the folks at Easy Dis by Instant Presence Travel Services for any Disney destination planning. Make it a great week. And as always, keep making memories.